This is Wes Brisco, former Aces 8 member, and this is Great North Wrestling. About to do an interview. Check me out.
All right, so what was it like growing up the son of a famous wrestler?
You know, it was good, but it was also tough. You know, there's big shoes to fill. You know, not only do I got to impress my peers, but my peers was also my dad. And my dad and my uncle, they would come down on me harder than any coach would ever come down on me. But that made me tougher, that made me stronger, and that made me who I am today.
And did your dad have you in amateur wrestling as a young kid?
Yes, I was a two-time state champion, amateur wrestler, All-American amateur wrestler, four-time Western Conference champion. My dad was really, really big into amateur wrestling. So my whole life growing up, even at 4 years old, I remember he used to pin me down and hold me down until I kick out. I'd be like, "Mom, tell Dad to let me up." And my dad'd be like, "No, Wes, you're gonna fight. You're gonna fight." And then of course eventually he'd let me up, but he always made sure that I fought. But that was a big thing about amateur wrestling. Just shows you that respect. It's something that, you know, if you've never done amateur wrestling, I suggest everyone definitely get into it because it builds character and you have no one else to blame but yourself out there. So I've been in amateur wrestling my whole life. I wouldn't change a thing either.
Yeah. You also did wakeboarding too for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I was a professional wakeboarder. It was kind of weird. I had a full ride amateur wrestling scholarship, but I had the opportunity to pursue a different type of dream and become a professional wakeboarder. It was something that my dad was like, "You know what, son, if you want to go for it, go for it." And he kind of wanted me to kind of step out of his shoes for a little bit, kind of, you know, explore myself as a person. So that was really crazy. I mean, I got to tour all around the world from Hong Kong to Japan, and then I, of course, had my own pro model Wes Brisco board that was sold all around the world. So that was pretty
really cool. So what made you get out of that?
You know, that's kind of a young man's sport. You know, today's pros are 16, 17. And at the time, I was getting to about the age of 24 where, you know, you can't keep up with those 16-year-olds, man. Those kids are tough. And they can keep falling and falling and get back up. And, of course, I also had a really bad knee injury where I tore my ACL, PCL, MCL. So that kind of limited it a little bit.
Was that the worst injury you had up to that point?
That was pretty much my worst injury ever. Yeah, that was pretty much it. It set me on the sidelines for over a year and a half of just really learning how to walk again and full movement because I just did not tear my ACL. It was PCL, MCL, and lateral meniscus. So it was pretty bad.
Wow. So what made you decide to go into pro wrestling?
You know, that's a real hard question to answer, but what really, really got me was I was hanging out with my Uncle Jack, and I was sitting on the couch, and my uncle never really talked about wrestling. He was kind of this guy that when work's done with, he came home and that was it. But for some reason, he started talking to me about professional wrestling, and just something sparked in me. I mean, I trained out of high school before I started doing wakeboarding. I did a little bit of professional wrestling. Like I trained with Steve Kern and a couple of other guys, but I didn't really, my heart wasn't in it. So I went to wakeboarding. And then I sat with my uncle and just something just lit up in me. I don't know, something just made me say, "Hey, I belong there. You know, that's where I belong." And I kind of was like, you know what, I left there. I didn't tell him I was going to do it. Went home, talked to my dad about it, and my dad's like, "Well, if you want to try it, you're going to have to give it 110%. There is no half-ass in this." So I said, "All right, I'm going to give it my all." And that's how I started getting into professional wrestling.
What company did you start with?
Actually, I got really blessed, and because of my wakeboarding and, of course, my old man, I got signed with WWE. And I was so blessed to be able to train and learn the fundamentals the right way with WWE, with, you know, just everything proper. And that was a great experience. Good coaches, Norman Smiley, Dr. Tom, Steve Kearns, Dusty Rhodes. I mean, the legends were all there.
Did you know Dusty from your younger days too?
Yes, I've known Dusty, Steve Kearns since I was probably 4 years old. I mean, I remember going over to Dusty's house all the time for dinners and sitting on his kitchen counter and just goofing around with the kids, Cody and Dustin and all them. So they've all been a family because with pro wrestling, it's a big family. We all stick together. It's a tight-knit group. And, of course, my dad lived in Florida, and a lot of the guys lived in Florida. So they would all come over for barbecues, go on the lake, ride the jet skis. And, of course, as a little kid, I'm just walking around. There's Dusty Rhodes, there's Steve Kearns, just all the legends. It was crazy. Bugs McGraw. I mean, it was...
Who was your favorite growing up?
Like, what era would you say favorite?
Well, let's say the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
Because you're 31 now, right?
Mm-hmm. See, I loved Ash and Smash, the Demolition. They were different. They were something unique. They were one of my favorites. And then, of course, Rick Rude. Ravishing Rick Rude was absolutely one of my favorites. And every once in a while I try to imitate some of his moves, some of his charisma, some of the way he talks to them ladies. Woo!
And you got the abs going like him, I will give you that. And what led to your unfortunate release from WWE?
Well, crazy thing is I ended up tearing my other knee. ACL, PCL, MCL. And and it sucked because the night before I got hurt, I was supposed to debut me and Xavier Woods. We were going to be the next little tag team out they were going to push in WWE. So I was getting ready. This was my last night in developmental. Where we're about to drop the tag team titles, the development tag team titles, and the next day I'm flying out to go to I forgot what pay-per-view me and Xavier were going to debut, but the next day I'm literally supposed to fly out, and I was doing a double corkscrew crossbody off the top, and just something went wrong, and leg went out and snap. That was all she wrote. And I remember sitting there, and it wasn't because of the pain I was kind of crying. It was because I knew that my career could be done. Because in this business, if they got a storyline for you, and if you don't go out and do that, if you get hurt, that storyline's gone. It's not like you're going to come back, be healthy, and they're like, oh, you're going to jump back right where you are. No, they've already moved past. And that was a real hard thing to deal with, knowing that it wasn't because of my actions, it wasn't because of my work or anything like that. It was just, I got hurt, and, when I came back, there was nothing for me. So, I got released. And which I also think that was a blessing, because I've been able to wrestle all around the world.
And you ended up going to TNA. How did that come about?
Well, I was wrestling down in Puerto Rico for Carlos Colon, and I get a call from Bruce Pritchard, and he says, I got this idea for you. I'm not going to tell you much. I want you to just fly down. Because at the time I was living in Puerto Rico, so I was like, you know what? I'll get to go back to Florida, free trip home, maybe get to see my parents. So I was like, yeah, I'll come in, check this out, see what's going on. So I went to a meeting with all the guys from TNA, and they said that they got a pretty big idea for us, this Aces and Eights gimmick. And they told me the whole gimmick about me and Kurt Angle feuding and how I was going to turn on them. And I
knew Kurt Angle before that, right?
Oh, yes. I've known Kurt Angle through amateur wrestling. He used to come down and do camps for my dad. And when he would come do camps, I was always, of course, his beat-up dummy. Of course. Who else? Me. So I was kind of used to it anyways. But, yeah, I've known Kurt for a very long time. And it was what a blessing and honor to get tied to that guy's hip. I mean, I wrestled Kurt every single night. House shows, pay-per-views. I learned so much from him, and I got nothing but respect for that guy.
Do you think we'll see Kurt in WWE again one day? Or?
Man, I would like to see it. I would like to see him and Brock. I mean, because if you really look at it, he's the only opponent for Brock that you can actually buy in that Kurt will beat him. It's kind of like all the opponents that they put Brock against, you're kind of just like, yeah. But if you put Kurt in there, everyone will be like, this is going to be a match. Because the matches that they had were just, phenomenal.
Was your dad there for that match they had before taping one night in WWE? Like they had apparently a shoot match.
Yes, my dad was there. Of course, at the time, that was when my dad was Vince McMahon's right-hand man.
Yeah.
So my dad was everywhere. My dad was running all the European shows. My dad was pretty much the man next to Vince. So I remember my dad telling me this story. He goes, Brock and Angle have been going at it for a little bit, just saying, "Oh, who's better?" And of course, Kurt's like, "I'm a gold medal. I mean, you're an NCAA champ, but I'm a gold medalist. There's two different." Brock's, of course, like, I'll take you. And then finally, I guess Kurt had enough of it, so Kurt's like, "All right, let's go." So they went into the wrestling ring and did a shoot, like not a wrestling match, like a real amateur wrestling match. And then I remember my dad saying that he got yelled at. They were like, "Jerry, go get your boys. They're out there killing themselves before they hurt so Jerry." So my dad had to run out there and break them up, because if they hurt each other, those are the $1 million guys for the company. And they're out there not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Right. So, but my dad said it was pretty tense. But my dad said Kurt kind of got the best of them.
Interesting. And so I guess working with Kurt was the highlight of your TNA run?
I would say that was pretty much, working with Kurt, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, those were some of the guys that I just remember having matches with and just never wanted it to end. You had those matches where you're out there and they're like, "Okay, it's time to go home," and you're just like, "Man, I don't want to stop." Like, you're having so much fun. The chemistry's there and the crowd's there. It was a good times, man. I really enjoyed my time there.
What was it like working with Bubba Dudley? Because he was one of the Aces and Eights, I think.
Next question.
Okay. What did you think of the whole Aces and Eights gimmick in TNA?
I loved it. I thought it was something unique. I thought it was something different. I really enjoyed it. It was hot. I mean, the crowd, the people, they were getting behind it because I felt like it was something different and something new that the crowd in wrestling hasn't seen in a long, long time. So I thought it really sparked a lot of interest.
And in Great North Wrestling and other companies around Quebec, there's actually a Quebec version of Aces and Eights. What do you think of the gimmick becoming so popular that it's kind of expanded into a spin-off gimmick in Canada in the province of Quebec?
You know what? I'm proud of these Quebec boys. I'm proud that they're bringing the Aces and Eights out here, and I'm glad that they're doing their thing. And, they're trying to make it big and worldwide, which, I'm fully behind, and I'm ready to rock and roll with the Aces, Eights of Quebec all day long, baby.
And last question for TNA. There's a lot of turmoil there right now. It's probably looking like, it's been looking like this for a few years, but it looks like it's at the end. What do you think of this situation? Did you see the seeds being planted in your time there?
I saw the seeds being planted when I was there. I mean, it's when I saw some of the people that they were firing, from Bruce Pritchard to Eric Bischoff, which were so creative. I mean, Bruce Pritchard and Bischoff, they're really creative people. And once they started letting those guys go, and then of course Austin Aries, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, you start looking around and going, what are they doing? Where are they going? And it really sucks, because at a time when I was there in the Aces and Eights, we were doing good. TNA was actually doing really good. And to see a product, and you always want competition. You don't want just one brand. And it's always good that wrestlers have another home to go to. Because then you get to see different wrestlers and you get to see different people, different characters. Because, you don't always just want to be this plain blank, whatever. You want different flavors. And it's good for business. And it hurts me knowing that they're just not going the direction that they need to be going.
Do you think Billy Corgan actually could have done anything to help the company, or?
I don't even know what's up with that. That was pretty weird. Like, I guess he was a wrestling fan. Some people said that he did a couple shows. I don't know. I guess the last thing I heard was that he's suing him.
Right. For
not getting paid. So I don't know, man. That thing is just up in the air with me.
Basically a wrestling fan with money and.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if he would have. So you just don't know. I can't judge anybody until they actually do the job. So I can't.
And you spent a few tours in New Japan, is that right?
Yeah, I've done New Japan. I was recently over in Europe for the past 2 months. I pretty much been getting booked everywhere, which is a blessing, and just trying to, get my craft a lot better, being able to wrestle every style of wrestling. You just don't ever want to be labeled as, you can only do this. You want to be able to do every style. You want to be able to adapt to your surroundings.
Do you see yourself getting another shot in WWE? You're still fairly young, in good shape.
I mean, that's the goal. That's what I eat and breathe and sleep. I wouldn't be lacing up my boots if I didn't believe I want to play in the Super Bowl. Who would not want to be in the Super Bowl? And WrestleMania is the Super Bowl. And that's at WWE. And that's where my dreams, that's where my goals, I'm gonna make it back there. I'm not gonna take no for an answer. I've been busting my ass. I've been working through injuries. I've been broke. I've been rich. I've been all that. But I'm not gonna give up until I lace up those boots, walk down that curtain, look up there, see my dad, pray to my uncle, and kick some ass.
WWC Puerto Rico, that company's not as doing as well as it used to. In your time there, how was business?
Business was good, but it wasn't like it used to be. But I had a blast, and plus, those Puerto Rican women! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
And any message finally that you want to give to your fans, and if you want to tell them where we can follow you too for anyone watching this?
You can follow me at Wes Brisco on Twitter. It's the one with the verified blue check. And then Wes Brisco 19 on Instagram. And all I got to say to everyone out there is never give up. Follow your dreams. Always believe in your heart. And don't let anybody ever tell you can't do something. Because I've had a lot of people say I can't do something, but I always prove them wrong. Just follow your dreams, be kind, and God bless.